My name is Kyle Bordner, and this is my recording for my interactive module planning cards. So before I get into the sequence of the cards, I want to outline how the students will access the module, and that will come by instructions by me in the classroom. But I will tell them to navigate to the class website, which is the website I designed with the Wix badge, and then navigate to the resources page and click the button, which will have a link that will go to the website that I create that will house the interactive module. So when students access the interactive module, they will see, um, they'll access it by a link on the class website. It'll take them to that Wix page. On the IM website, they will see 5 total pages. From the home page, it'll be 4 pages they can navigate to. The home page will house some instructions, as I'll get to in a second, and then there will be a lesson page, 2 example pages, one with a written and one with a video example, and then a quiz page. On the home page, there will be instructions on how to complete the module for students. These instructions will include telling them to read the instructions firstly, then to navigate to the separate pages. On the second page, the lesson page, they will watch the video that I created on the iMovie badge, which will be about Van Dorn's reading questions in his How to Read a Book. It will also have a provided PDF with that. I'll ask them to navigate to the written example page, as well as the video example page, and on both of those they will read or watch the video examples and then read example answers to Van Dorn's questions, which will help them get an idea of what what an answer will look like, and so that they're able to, in the lesson that I developed for the first challenge in the IM badge, they'll be able to see examples of how to answer these questions, and then they can answer them well in that lesson. After they look at these examples, there will be a quiz page in which they'll take a quiz which will assess their ability to understand how to answer these questions. So on the lesson page, I will have a link to the video I made using iMovie, which is on the iMovie badge, but this video explains Van Dorn's reading questions, and I will also have a PDF of the pages that have these reading questions on them, and each question is explained a little bit by Van Dorn in that excerpt, so the students will be able to read for themselves what Van Dorn has to say about these questions and how to read a book. On the written example page, there will be a PDF of an excerpt from Macbeth. I chose Macbeth because in some of the lesson planning we've been doing, I've mentioned reading King Lear for the class, and so giving them another Shakespeare to work with before we move into that. I'm thinking of this lesson being in the beginning of the semester so that they can understand how to read a book or a piece of literature before they actually read a book or a piece of literature. So giving them Macbeth, giving them a taste of Shakespeare before I move into some more Shakespeare later in the semester, I think would be good. So, this says 0, I actually should say 10 there. But this PDF shouldn't take too long to read, and then I will have an example answer for each of the Van Dorn questions, so that, again, the students can start to begin to see how these questions can be answered. The video example page will be very similar to the written example page, except that I will give them a video example. And this will be to show them that reading a book doesn't just mean reading a book, but it can be any form of literature, whether that's poetry or movies, sometimes music or music videos, that sort of thing. So that'll be part of this page as well. And then I'll give them example answers to each of the 4 questions again to get them to start thinking and understanding how to answer these questions. After they read these example pages and see some of the example questions, they'll move on to the quiz page. On the top of this page, before the quiz can be taken, they will have to read some instructions about how to complete the quiz. And hopefully there will be an explanation of why we're taking the quiz that will include maybe part of the lesson that we're going to be doing that I outlined in the IM Badge Challenge 1. But it'll explain why we're taking the quiz so that they understand that it's not just, another grade in the grade book, but something that they'll utilize as we continue to read the rest of the semester and the rest of the school year. So the quiz will be made using Online Quiz Creator, and I've looked at some of their quiz creating options, and I like that I'm able to create a quiz like this where I can have 8 possible questions, and then they're able maybe to move them and interact a little bit better so that they can just move them into like a category of which question they best answer. Hopefully that will get the students thinking about ways to answer these questions. So possible answers to the first reading question here, I have an example from To Kill a Mockingbird, an example from Interstellar, and these are just kind of examples of answers that can be answers to these questions, and then I'll have more examples of these answers once I begin the development stage. But it'll be the same thing for each of the questions, 2 possible answers for each question, and they'll be able to then go in and match which answer belongs with which question. Again, hopefully then they begin to understand what kind of answers they can use for answering these questions. Assessing will come by way of seeing what grade they got on the quiz, and it's a small assessment for the interactive module, but it's an assessment that is important and that will lead into the larger assessment in the planned challenge, or the planned lesson I have for IM Challenge 1. Yeah, so the motivation for completing this interactive module, mostly I just have it being prepared for the class lesson, which I assume will be a part of maybe my rules at the beginning of the semester, something like that, like always be prepared for class, that sort of thing. And secondly, getting a good grade on the module quiz so that you can have a good grade in the class is another motivation. However, these are both kind of ideals and not necessarily realistic ideals for student motivation. And so I don't really have any better ideas for how to motivate the students to complete the interactive module right now. So I'd love to brainstorm some of those ideas if it's possible. But right now it's just being prepared for class and getting a good grade on the module.